You know what, you guys, that I find really interesting in sports is momentum. How you have a team that's just got it. And on one sideline, they're going crazy. On the other, everybody's got their heads down. And then something happens and it just shifts. And if you're on the wrong side of that, it's like, uh-oh, here it goes. And you can just feel the game going away. Cold open's done. All right, now we can do the first question. Steve, you played in one of the considered greatest games of the USC Notre Dame football rivalry ever, where you were in the Coliseum, down 17 in the fourth quarter, down 10 with just over 6 to go. Trojans have the football, and you guys somehow pulled the rabbit out of the hat and won that game. What do you remember about that game?
Well, there's so much to remember about that game. I mean, it was the last game of my Notre Dame career, and I was coming home. It was at the Coliseum. I had about 300 people in the stands, all wearing Beuerlein jerseys. And, we knew we weren't going to a bowl game. We were 4-6 at the time. Lou Holtz's first year at Notre Dame. We had lost to 4 or 5 teams in the top 10 that year. We played them all, lost. All of them went down to the very end. We lost to Penn State, Alabama, LSU at LSU. Michigan was the first game in Lou Holtz's career. Bo Schembechler, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, those were the games that we lost, and we were in all of them to the end. Should have won most of them, but we didn't quite know how to get it done.
How did you feel with that as your history for that season? Right. How do you feel when you're now 17 points down?
That's the whole point.
Like, how do you pull it out?
At some point, you figure it out. At some point, you have that experience that all of a sudden you say, we got it, it's worth it. And what happened in that game, Lou Holtz, I'll spare you all the details of the story, but I had a really good year. Lou gave me a chance to play my senior year after a really horrific junior year. I played my whole junior year with an injury that I should have been redshirted. My right shoulder. I actually got hurt my sophomore year. It was misdiagnosed through the off season, and I had a surgery right before the season that I shouldn't have played. But long story short, after my junior year, I thought my career was over, and Lou told me he was going to give me a chance. And I got myself healthy, went through the season, lost all those heartbreak games, but I was playing at a pretty high level, and everything was going in the right direction. Well, before that game, the night before the game, Lou called me in to his hotel room, and basically we had kind of a just reflection conversation on the year and how special it was and how proud of me he was. And at the very end of that meeting, he as I'm feeling really good about things and I'm leaving, he says, "Oh, and just one more thing."
Wait, do it in the Lou voice.
He says, "Beuerlein, one more thing." He goes, "I just want you to know if you throw an interception tomorrow, I'm pulling you out. You're done for the day." And I'm like, "Wait, Coach, you can't tell me that right before."
That's not a good thing. Right before you go to sleep?
Yeah, before I go to bed the night before the last game of my career.
No.
I go, "You can't say." He goes, "Well, of course I can. I just said it. I'll say it again. If you throw an interception, I'm pulling you out. Good night. Have a good night's sleep." I'm like, what? So I'm walking back to my room and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, what the heck how do you deal with that? Well, try to block it out, right? Yeah, sure enough, middle of the second quarter, I throw a quick out to the left side.
What are you doing before you go line up, before you start the game? Are you thinking about that?
I try to block it out, but it's on your mind.
How could you not think about it?
It's on my mind, yeah. So sure enough, we're losing early in the game. Not playing badly, but we're losing. I throw a quick out. Lou Brock Jr. was a corner over there on the left side, and he times it perfectly, jumps it, and takes it for a touchdown.
Oh.
So all of a sudden it hits me. The magnitude of all this hits me, and I'm like, that's it. That's the way this is going to end. He's going to pull me out. So, of course, Lou's over here. I start walking over here to the other end of the bench, and I hear his voice, Beuerlein, he's calling me. And he just says, "Sorry, son, you're done for the day." And I'm on the bench. I'm sitting there.
This is your last game.
My last game at Notre Dame, and this is the way it's going to end. And my parents and my brothers, all my friends are in the stadium. I literally was crying You know, it wasn't visible.
I can imagine.
But I was, crying on the inside, and I thought I was done. I was hoping that coming out for the second half, he'd let me go back in, but he didn't. And the guy that was my backup quarterback came out for the second half, and that's when it really hit me. And I thought, man, he's not going to let me go back in this game. Well, sure enough, after about 2 or 3 series in the second half, I'm sitting there on the bench and just kind of wallowing in self-pity. And he comes up out of the blue, and we're losing by 17, like you said. And he comes up to me, gets in my face. He said, "Are you ready to play some football, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Yes, sir. You put me back in, please. We'll find a way to win this game. Put me in, please." He goes, "Get out there and win us a football game, son." So I was like, all right. So I go back out there, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened with the team. I just knew I had to figure it out somehow. We had to make something good happen to try to change the momentum of that game. And first drive, we just went right down the field. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, we're down 10. It was 6 minutes to go, and it was like our defense, we were telling them, just get the ball back for us. We got it. We're going to take it down and do it again. And we had Tim Brown, who was an incredible player.
And you completed like a 50-yard pass to him right after that. So.
I completed a 50-yard pass to Milt Jackson.
Oh, to Milt Jackson, not to Tim Brown?
What happened on that was a 50-yard touchdown pass to pull us within 2.
Right.
We got the 2-point conversion.
Did you kind of, at that point, at somewhere along the way, did you guys go, we're going to win this football game?
Everybody on our team believed that if we could get the ball back, we were going to win the game. Right. And it's just the things started happening, and it's amazing when you get that confidence.
Right.
And the momentum, and you can see it in your opponent.
That's correct.
Right. That's the other thing that
they see it in you.
They see too. That they start playing scared,
right?
And you start saying, "We got you. We know it, and you know it, right. And you better not give that ball back to us because it's over if you do." Right. Sure enough, we end up our defense comes through, holds up, forces them to punt, and Tim Brown has a great punt return. That was what he did. Okay. He brought a punt return 40 yards back and gets us in field goal range. Right. And we end up kicking a short chip shot field goal as time runs out to win.
Well, at the end, it's interesting because, Steve, at the end of the game, that's when a lot of players get tight because, especially if things are going against them, they're kind of holding on
right.
and not playing.
Right. And
playing not to lose, if you will.
And that as we all know, when you start playing not to lose,
yeah, it's inevitable.
You're done. And at
how
any level,
how did you feel though? Because you'd been benched in that game, so I want to go back to that real quick. Mm-hmm. Trotting out on that field, was it like that moment of like, wow, I've got my chance, I'm not going to blow it, or were you scared? Like, what was your emotions like running on the field after coming back out?
I can tell you. And I reflect back on it right now as I'm looking back, and I'm kind of reliving the moment. But I can tell you that when Lou came over and told me I was going back in the game, I had this energy or this feeling inside of me that was kind of like that aha moment, where it was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to end. I am going to get a chance to go
interesting.
Back. And I thought it was going to end on the bad way, and I was like, it's not going to end that way.
Oh,
right.
I'm going
almost like a movie playing in your.
It really is.
In
it's
your
like I'm going to have a chance to go out and win this game.
Right.
Let's go do it.
Right.
And as I ran out there on the field, I remember getting in the huddle, and I could almost feel my teammates. As we all got in there and I kind of pulled them. You remember moments like this during your career too, where you just look everybody in the eye and you're like, let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go get this done. Let's go score right now and change this story. Right. Let's write this chapter the way we want it. Let's finish it the way we want to finish it. And things started happening and guys started believing.
So interestingly enough, the flip side story is your story, Paul. Mm-hmm. In '78, you guys are up like 3 touchdowns or something going into the fourth quarter, have the game on ice, and they come roaring back and take the lead. And you get the ball back with, I think, 46 seconds left, and you're now down a game that you thought you should have won probably. So what was your mindset like after having the game essentially felt like maybe given away?
Well, yeah, we were dominating the first half, up 24-6. They had this guy Joe Montana, who played for you guys.
Heard of it? Heard of him, yeah.
He's an okay guy.
Did not play well at all in the first half. Not at all.
He did.
He did not. He did not. Hence, that's why we were dominant. I threw 2 touchdowns in the first half, even though I had a bad ankle. Second half, different story.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter. Yeah. So we were like struggling a little bit offensively, but then he got hot.
Right.
I think he threw for 300 yards in the second half and ended up taking the lead. And they go for 2 and don't get it. So they're ahead by 1, 25-24.
At that time, though, so we just said when you guys were coming back on the Trojans, you knew you were going to win that game, and they knew that you knew it.
Yeah.
I would imagine it was probably the same situation there, where they probably had that. They had the momentum.
They had all the momentum.
So how do you get the momentum back in that? How do you get it back in that last moment when 46 seconds left to play?
I got to tell you, I was pissed.
Yeah.
Because we should be winning the game.
You would put yourself in that situation, yeah.
We should be winning the game.
Right.
And so there's no way, my mindset was there's no way we're going to lose this game. So we had a decent return, but I kind of factored the number in my mind. We had to go about 45 yards to give our guy a chance to kick a field goal. So I, just like you said, we're in the huddle, told everybody, hey, all we need to do is get 45 yards, get Frank Jordan out here. We're going to kick this field goal, win the game. So just do whatever you have to do to keep those guys out. So complete a pass to the flat. Then there was a little controversial play after that.
We're going to talk about the
We're going to talk about that. Yeah,
they had one in their game too.
Okay, good.
We're not going to let Steve off the hook.
Okay, good. Good, yeah. So then, of course, they're playing soft. So playing cover 3 deep covers, very soft. So we threw like a deep double cross, a deep crosser by the wide receiver, and I hit him, Calvin Sweeney, and he took it up the sideline. We got about 35 there. Charles White off tackle for about 7. So boom, we were there. We were there. And we kicked the winning field goal with 2 seconds to go and win the game. It was a great game, emotional, devastating game for the Irish not to win that because they thought they had won it. And so it was back and forth. Those are the great games.
That's why you play, right?
That's why people of the Irish remember me. Because of this game this play that we're going to talk about in a second.
So in both games, it's interesting. There was a controversial call. So we had talked about the fact that you guys were down by 10, and there was a little over 6 minutes to play. Essie had the ball. It's 4th and an inch, and Ronnie Pete does a quarterback sneak. And if he was here, he would swear to this day he had gained a yard, much less an inch. And the referee said it was short. He calls for the measurement, and they don't give him the measurement. Now, this isn't the Coliseum, so I have no idea how this happens. They don't give him the measurement. It's short. In your game, so that was like, Trojan fans will say, he gets that first down, game's over. You guys want to get the ball back, it's over.
Was he short?
Of course he was short. And the referee was a Catholic.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Say a couple of Hail Marys before
no measurement. Straight from the guy upstairs.
So the Coliseum doesn't mean anything, and that's so so that's your controversy. In your case, it was a play where you got hit, and to every Irish fan to this day will say you fumbled.
Absolutely.
But it was it was called an incomplete pass. So you can come clean now after all these years. Was it a fumble?
I will come clean. Let me just, set the framework for this, Steve. So we have 1 timeout left.
All right.
As a quarterback, one thing you can't do if you're passing the football is take a sack. Because then, it takes too much time to get everybody back and you lose a lot of time. Or you have to take the timeout and use the last timeout, which you want to save for the field goal attempt. So that was going through my mind. So I knew I had to throw the ball. And so the interesting thing is, while I was short, it was a half roll to the short side of the field, which was without wide hash marks back then. So there's not a lot of room. And so nobody was open. So I knew I had to throw it away. So the Irish defender, I can't remember his name, but he grabbed my jersey, spun me around as I was doing this to get rid of the ball. The ball hits a Notre Dame player in the thigh pad, and it ricochets and goes backwards. So they jump on the ball. The bench empties. They're jumping up and down. But I'm looking at the referee, Uncle Dave Kamansky, and
Uncle
He,
Dave.
he wasn't an uncle. I'm having fun with this.
Excuse me?
But
How does that happen?
he was this. I'm like, oh. And so we were saved, and we had. But you could say a lot of things. SC didn't get the first down, right? But that gave them a chance.
They still had to go back and do all
You still have to go back. So we still had to go complete the pass to Calvin Sweeney, and we got to kick. A lot of things have to happen. But it was a controversial call, no doubt. And even Joe Montana, in introducing me to Eddie DeBartolo at an event, introduced me as, "Hey, Eddie, have you met Paul McDonald? He cheats." I'm like, Joe. Get over it, man. It's been 35 years.
You're not the referee. You're
just playing the game.
Get over
It's
it.
like they made the call.
I'm just playing.
I'm just
Exactly. So, but great game, great finish, but certainly controversial. And I think, to your point of how do you turn those things, I think it's belief is like hugely important. Like you believe when you trotted on the field, you believe
Body
that this
language.
was my chance with my team to go end this the right way, right?
Change the narrative. To
change the narrative.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking too when I was trotting on the field. And we had enough success that we had all this belief, and we had the guys, so why couldn't we do it?
Sure. How do you respond? Okay, so in both your guys' cases, you were the beneficiary of a bad call. But let's say in another game where
arguably a bad.
yeah, still claiming it was short, claiming it wasn't a fumble. All right.
By the way, we were victimized by many of those calls during the course of that year as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good. That's my segue.
Yeah.
So how do you respond? Because this is where we're talking about momentum. How do you respond when you're on the field and there's a key moment in a key part of the game where it was clearly a bad call against your team? How do you deal with that? How do you get yourself back focused from not wallowing in that and or being so pissed off that you can't focus?
Well, if you know it's a bad call, you've got to put that in the rearview mirror. Put it behind you and block it out and say, all right, now what? What now? What do we do? And you just figure out a way, like Paul said, here we are. We're in this situation. We've got to do whatever we've got to do to make it happen. If we don't, if we fall short, we fall short. But you got to find a way to keep that belief going.
Yeah, and that's life, right? Because stuff happens, right?
Exactly
and
right.
sometimes it's not your fault, and you are the victim of some negative thing that happened to you. And there are people who hold on to that baggage and they can't turn the corner because they're still holding on to that thing that somebody did to them, whether it be their parents or whoever. And so that's what I love about sports, because you learn about how to deal with life, and you gave a great answer.
I'm going to put my spiritual hat on now, or maybe that perceived negative thing that happened to you, which things don't happen to you, they're there for a reason. So, is exactly what you needed to see.
Right.
And so, how do you deal with it? Because that is life and that's the game. And so how do you respond? How do you respond? That's the ultimate question for everybody and every day of their life when something happens or whatever. How do you respond to it? Do you go into the tank? Do you crawl in a hole? Do you go in the fetal position? No, you got to keep showing up. You show up, right?
When I was my kids were a little bit younger, I would coach their soccer teams. And inevitably in recreational soccer, there's gonna be a lot of bad calls because the referee's a volunteer, and it's and I would hate it because a lot of times the parents would get all fired up about it, and it was like, we lost that game because blah blah blah. Right. And I found myself finally at one point in the season, talking to my kids and telling them, like, I've been to a lot of sporting events in my life as a fan, played in a bunch of games as a kid. I can tell you in hundreds and hundreds of games, there's probably only one or two that were really genuinely decided by the ref. Mm-hmm. If you lost, it's because you lost. Mm-hmm. If you won, it's because you won. Mm-hmm. And I think people get so hung up on this whole thing about the referee, and in life, that other person.
It's easy. It's easier that way.
Yeah, point the finger.
It's his. We got
wasn't us.
We got shafted. Whatever. I think the key word in all of it, and what you were saying, Paul, to me. Again, not to get too spiritual, but it comes down to faith or belief. Let's use the word belief. Everybody is going to go through hardships during their life. There's going to be a lot of bad things that happen if you're fortunate enough to live as long as we have, and hopefully a lot longer. There's going to be down times. There's going to be things that work against you. And the only way that you can get through those times is by believing that it's going to even out. You're going to get a break. Something good is going to happen. Once you lose that belief or that faith, I use the word faith when I'm talking about myself. Once you lose that, you've lost everything. If you start believing that it's never going to turn, it's never going to get better. And I think in life, that's the most significant attribute I think that you have to be successful, is the belief that things can turn, and they will turn if you keep doing the right things. Keep giving yourself the opportunity to make the positive change that you need to make and get things going in the right direction. I just think that's so important.
And if you focus, that's well said, Steve. And if you focus on the good things, because everyone has something good going on in their life.
Right.
The sun came up. There's something good that happens for everybody every single day. If you focus on those things, you're going to get more. You're going to see more of those things that are going to happen slowly. Maybe not right away, but slowly. And I totally concur with you, Steve. I mean, I think having that belief of, like, otherwise, why wake up in the morning?
Right. I mean,
why get up out of bed in the morning?
Use the metaphor that we both experienced far more often than we would have liked, probably. But when you get knocked down, you got to get back up, and you got to get in there and just take another swing and make it happen. When you get to that point where you feel like you don't want to get back up or step in the batter's box or whatever it might be, when you lose that desire, it's time to wave the white flag, And I just think that so many people that are going through difficult times, if they can just find a way to spin it, like you said, find something positive, something to kind of inject that belief that, you know what, I can handle this. It's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. That's huge.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
This is the part where we're supposed to tell people to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay, will you please do that then? I mean,
Yeah.
if you enjoy it,
Yeah.
please do.
And if you don't, do it anyways, because we need your help.
We do.
Also, we have a website called GameChangeNation.com. Just go there and subscribe and you'll get tons of free content.
And what we're really trying to do is create a community of people that love sports.
Yep.
And the great lessons that we learn from sports, but we want to hear from you.
We do. So we're going to have a bunch of social media pages, from TikTok to Instagram to Twitter to Facebook. Instagram, I probably already said all of them. Please join them and tell us your stories. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, and we wrote a book.
Oh,
Forgot about that.
Forgot that.
The book is called Through the Tunnel. It's available on Amazon now. If you go straight down here to this link that you can see below us, you will be able to purchase it. We'd love it if you could do it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.